Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So Endless Torment is the upcoming Dark Slaver event, and as usual they do have a video that has been released by the network team, so we can take a look at the mechanics for this particular deck. Now you notice that I'm actually showing you an Earth deck, and that is because this particular deck, commonly known as the Giants deck, has exactly the same mechanism as this current event deck. Now this has 2 ultra rare cards, 1 master collection card, 1 event, and 1 support. The way that you would play this is you would activate your ultra rare and your support cards first. Make sure that you do a match in the next turn so that you can generate multiple Power Gem 4s. Once you have Power Gem 4s that's on the board, then you activate your support, your event card and your master collection card, and then you can fill up the board with the rest of the Power Gems. And after you do the match, you can see that in this particular deck, the total damage for this deck was 155.6 billion. So quite a bit of damage there from this particular deck, so you can know what to expect for the upcoming event deck. Now that we've seen the Earth Giant deck in action, let's take a look at the actual event deck themselves, and let's start with the Soul Reaper. Now what's nice about this deck compared to the Earth Giant deck is that these are God cards, and we have had quite a few God events already, so you should have at least 1 or more relics that could actually power up the deck. And since I've said that this has exactly the same mechanism, I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but I do want to highlight some important differences in the battle skill and the passive here, because this is actually a better version of the previous deck. So you can see here in the battle skill, it will create 6 Dark Power Gem 1s and double the effect if there are at least 4 or more Dark Power Gem 4s. This is an increase from 5. And the passive skill here, you notice that it will increase the God Hero's attack by 65% to start. This is also up from previously 55%. Now let's start with the Master Collection card, since it has exactly the same mechanism as the event card. So the card's name is Hell, and you can see it has exactly the same thing, and this deck really has everything. It has, 100% recovery if you put this card as a leader anytime a gen spawning skill is used. And when you activate a battle skill, it will create 6 Power Gem 2s. It will double the effect if there's at least 4 Power Gem 4s on the board, and it will also heal for another 150% of recovery. The passive also has a boost, so now the attack will initially be boosted by 85%, up from 75% in the previous Giant deck. Let's take a look now at also the support card as well as the ultra rare cards. The support card is called Baron Samedi, and this card is what you call the on-hit card, in that every time you attack, it will create 3 dark gems each time, and it will also pass that ability to other cards as long as you have 100 intensity, multiples of 100 God intensity. And the ultra rare card does exactly the same thing as you would expect as well. It will create Power Gem 4s every time you attack, and you can apply this ability to other cards as well, so that every time you attack after you activate a battle skill, they will all create Power Gem 4s for you. So up to this point, I've been talking a lot about the Earth Giant deck and how this particular deck has a little bit of a boost. So how much more damage are we actually talking about here? Well, let's take a look at the damage calculator so that we can see for ourselves. Now let's start by taking a look at Satyr the Firmroot, which is the event card from the last Earth Giant deck. Assuming that it's a strong affinity with 300% leader bonus, with 3 keys and a full board of Power Gem 3s, with 0% attack increase, and at max level, which is 3,796 value for attack, you can expect that the damage will be about 22,650,000,000. Soul Reaper, on the other hand, while it has exactly the same stats as Satyr, it does have a 10% increase overall in terms of the percentage increase. So at 100 intensity, it will have 80% attack increase, and the damage boost goes up to 30,470,000,000. Now the key thing to note here is that while the number doesn't seem too high in terms of the difference between 10% of the attack bonus, what's going to make the big difference here is the number of Power Gems that is going to be generated based on the Master Collection card and the event card. Especially with the Master Collection card that generates Power Gem 2s, you're going to see that many more Power Gem 4s on the board, which is going to significantly increase the total damage as well. So it remains to be seen how much more of a bump this is going to be once the event starts. So now, having seen the potential damage output for this particular event, it's also important to note that that is only possible if you have at least one of the ultra rare cards in order to create a power gen force that's needed to unlock the potential for the rest of the cards. Without the ultra rare card, you're going to severely be limited in your damage output. And so that is something to consider and something to think about throughout the event. Now, of course, one of my goals is to come up with ideas that will allow you to play successfully in the event without the ultra rare cards or without the best deck possible. And that's something that we're going to be exploring in the next episode. Now, before I sign off, the last thing I would like to do is opening up the runes as well as going up to tier 3 of the event deck to see what we get. And we'll use this opportunity to talk about the hero collection cards as well, because I do have my thoughts about these. So the first one is going to be Belova, which is one of the support cards from the event that introduced the mechanic of momentum. So let's see what we get for the rune here. All right, so we'll get the first one. And then the second card actually is Vala the Redeemer. Now, this was from the event with Crystal Phoenix. Now, let's take a look at the rune here and see what we get. Okay, no duplicates, which is good. Finally, we have Venus Physica, which was an ultra rare version of the card way back when we had the fire card Venus. So this card unfortunately has a couple limitations. Number one, it's going to be really hard to evolve. And the second thing is it doesn't actually have a counter skill. So if you unfortunately this is the card that's going to be less useful for you. It is a god card, so you'll have some damage output there, but it's just so old that it's not as relevant and isn't as useful. So I don't really feel like this was a great card, a great addition to this deck, but it's what it is. Now let's go ahead and open up this rune and see what we get. All right, so now we're 3 for 3, which is great. And so far so good. Now let's go ahead and open up up to tier 3 for the main pack. So let's go in and start opening packs. Let's start with the first one and see what we get. And looks like we got Astral Savior. Huh. All right. And then the second pack. Let's see what we get in tier 2 here. So we get keys, and then I got Zoran. Yeah, so I got the ultra rare version of that card there. That was pretty crazy. And then got Dala. All right, so now let's take a look and see what we get in our third tier here. I'm hoping that we get the event card, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but let's see. All right, so this is interesting. So this is always what happens, that I always get different affinity cards on tier 3. Now let's see what we get for this card here. All right, so we got Venus Physica here. So I have 2 copies of that card. And with that, I'm going to conclude the episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about deck ideas once the event has started. It could be when the relic comes out. Stay tuned. I will definitely keep you posted. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. And I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.